Grossi Posse Packer Nation. Welcome to another episode of Podcast, the podcast where you don't have to be a Packers fan, but it sure does help. I'm your host, Tom. We're one win away from going to the Super Bowl, but I have to admit I'm really, really nervous and I might pee my pants. Grossi. And oh boy, we're going to be breaking down Sunday's NFC Championship Game, which of course features the Green Bay Packers and the San Francisco 49ers. And I could think of no better guest to help me break it down. He is the co-host of the amazing Fourth and Gold podcast. Javier, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me, man. It's good to be on.
Absolutely. And we were just talking right before we went on, like literally 60 seconds ago. It seemed like forever ago. And we were talking how favored you guys are in this Sunday's game. And you expressed maybe a little bit of nervousness. You know, everyone's saying, 49ers are going to win. 49ers are going to win. And I got to say, I'm very nervous. So if you're a little nervous, I'm full blown like anxiety. Like, yeah, this could go very, very poorly nervous. Can you kind of like walk me through how you're feeling right now about Sunday?
Yeah, the first game was 37-8 or whatever the score was. And, when you look at the game and you break it down, how often is Aaron Rodgers going to fumble in the first drive? The Niners pick it up at 2 and they score right away after that. How often are they going to get an unnecessary reference call on Devontae Adams and, sets a drive completely off its track and, the Packers are punting and the Niners score again. There's things there. The level of nervousness is more like it's like a too good to be true type feeling for the Niners. I've been a Niners fan since I was 8 years old, and the Packers have been a team that has tormented my childhood. I'm 33 years old, so you know who's done that to me. Brett Favre has done that to me.
Oh, yes.
And the playoff games against the Packers where, we're so close to getting there, and Jeff Garcia throws a bad pass, a tip. It's 15-18, Niners about to score. He throws a bad pass. It's tipped, it's intercepted, and the game is basically over. So the Niners, they don't win that one. You got the mud bowl in the regular season. You got all these, it's just I'm not a cocky fan, period. I'm not a cocky person in that way. So like the Niners themselves being this good this year, it just seems too good to be true. We went through the whole process of the year of, they're going to go through this gauntlet, the Packers, the Ravens, the Saints, and, we were not favoring any of those games. Maybe we were favoring the Packer ones, but we weren't favoring the other two. We handled business, and it's just everything's kind of lining up, and it's so eerily weird because of, especially the final play against Seattle. You have the Dan Dunn's play in the Super Bowl where he stops the Bengals player at the 1 yard line from winning the game for the Bengals, and then you have Drake Greenlaw winning the division on the 1 yard line versus Seahawks. There's so many parallels to the 81 team and the 2019 Niners that it's so creepy, and just the Bill Walsh connection, the Kyle Shanahan connection, the records are eerily similar. The way the teams have turned around has been really similar, from 79 and 80, and then 81, the Niners won the Super Bowl, whereas the Kyle Shanahan first 2 years were really bad, partially because of injuries, and then they're 13-3, one win away from winning the Super Bowl. So it's just that it's almost too good to be true type feel of my nervousness, and that's, I don't know, my 49er buddies like, Javier, we got this. I'm like, it's still Aaron Rodgers. I said it about Russell Wilson. As long as Russell Wilson is breathing and walking, the Seahawks have a chance. As long as Aaron Rodgers is breathing and walking, the Packers have a chance. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. And you know what? Listen, there were a few years that we went through where Colin Kaepernick ran all over our asses, right? Yeah. So we were talking like divisional round. Or listen, I still remember being heartbroken in the wild card round when you guys came in because and you won by a field goal. And I was like, son of a bitch. Because you guys had our number. The NFC West just seems to be like every now and then we come across like either the Seahawks or you, and they're just the biggest pains in the asses, and they either blow us out. There's some heartbreaking losses associated with it, and even this year, right? I had so much anxiety last week against the Seahawks because of our past experiences with them in the playoffs, which have not ended very well. And then, of course, with you guys, we got our asses handed to us week 12. And you brought up some obviously interesting points of, a lot of things didn't go our way that night. From the opening drive, things just were, it was just like, well, this is not our night. This is just not going to go well. And it really didn't get better. It was just drops, fumbles, the defense, George Kittle just blowing past us. And he's like, that's all right, I'm going to go get a touchdown now. Like there was so many things that went so wrong. But I think you'll agree that at this point, as we're both the final two teams in the NFC Championship, our teams are pretty darn different from that standpoint, from week 12. Obviously not that long ago, but like both our teams have been kind of battle tested since then. Like our team hasn't lost since we lost to you guys. And you guys, like you said, went through the gauntlet and played some of the best, if not the best teams in the NFL. And I think, you guys had your injuries, you were able to bounce back from that. You became a little bit more of a well-rounded team. And I think that obviously the 49ers, especially with the Ravens gone, for me, they're the best team left in the NFL. I know Packers fans, I apologize, but like just because I think just what boggles my mind so much is not really the offense. We'll talk about that momentarily, but it's just that defense and how they're able to just get pressure with such ease without blitzing. They're just like, oh no, we're just going to rush 4. Oh, and look, we're in the backfield already. And like, that's what makes you guys so dangerous. And as you saw, when you kicked the ass of the Vikings, well, thank you very much for that. I appreciate it. It was one of those things I was just like, wow, yep, we're going to have to play those guys. Oh, and it just so happens to be in Levi's Stadium, which is going to be a battle.
Yeah. It's, the Niners, the pass rush is just, beginning of the year, they were just, I don't know if I can curse on it, but they were ass kicking they were just boat racing everybody.
It's in the Bible, it's fine.
Yeah, and they had a rotation of, 8, 9 guys. And then they slowly started some attrition. DJ Jones goes down, D4 gets knocked down. Then you lose Ronnie Blair in the Seahawks game. So there's 3 guys that are out of the rotation. And then they go get DeMarcus Moore, who comes in for the Packers game. He ends up fracturing his arm that game. And they lose another guy. And then you have to go find a street free agent until D4 is healthy. So, the pass rush is what it is. And the difference between this game coming up Sunday and then the one in week 12, there wasn't D4 last time for the Niners against the Packers, and we still got 5 sacks. Mm-hmm. And that's the issue. That's the concerning part for the Packers, I would assume, because watching some Packers tape, the Packers' interior offensive line, they get a little too high with their pad level. And that's an advantage for guys like DeForest Buckner and Eric Armstead, who are 6'8", 6'9". They get their hands inside, they're going to move you regardless. But if you're getting too high, they're going to move you out of your way. And we saw that in the first matchup. And, maybe they've cleaned that up. But, I had all the faith in the world you guys would win the game against the Seahawks just because I don't like the Seahawks. But I thought there's something about Russell Wilson on the road and Pete Carroll on the road in the playoffs and going in Lambeau. There's just something there. There's always that aura of that. But I thought the Seahawks would lose that game. But you guys won. And you guys did so. I thought you guys played really well. Kind of eased up a little bit in the second half, but I thought the game was in hand. But if maybe if Turner doesn't drop that pass, then we're maybe discussing a Niners Seahawks NFC Championship game. But the pass rush for the Niners, it's gotten better all the way throughout the season. They had that little bit of a lull, with the Ravens game, the Saints game, just because when you're missing that other guy at D4 really sets it off. The pass rush win rate, quadruples when D4 is on the field. So. Yeah. There's a crazy stat as well. Like quarterbacks have a QB rating of 3 when Quan Alexander, Jaquiski Tartt, and D4 are on the field at the same time.
That's crazy. So
there's just these D4 is like this key to this defense to get after the quarterback and just make everything uncomfortable. And you saw that with Kirk Cousins. I'm not saying Aaron Rodgers is Kirk Cousins, but if you're gonna say Aaron Rodgers is going to take a 5-step drop and just sit there, the Niners are going to tee off on you all day. So I'm going to expect. I'm going to expect similar to what we saw versus the Rams, with a lot of Jared Goff rollouts from Aaron Rodgers. But that's something that the Packers haven't done this year. I don't think you get to this point in the season where you just want to switch everything up.
Exactly.
And Matt LaFleur and Kyle Shanahan, they kind of do what they do. Kyle Shanahan has a little bit more wrinkles in his offense, I think, and Aaron Rodgers is still learning that type of offense. So there's not that much familiarity with making these types of adjustments this late in the season. So I think the Packers are going to line up and do what they do. And part of it is. They're going to try to slow the pass rush down by kind of rail around a little bit, quick screens and draws, and that's kind of what the recipe has been against the pass rush.
Yeah, and I think what was the problem, one of the biggest problems from the last time, was even like when I was watching the game from week 12 a little while ago, and how quickly we got away from the run, and one of the reasons obviously was because we went down so quickly, and it was one of those things that Packers, they don't win the game usually unless we're utilizing Aaron Jones or Jamal Williams. And I think that you saw such a lack of both running backs in the first matchup between us that we really got away from our game plan almost immediately because of everything that went wrong. And then the second thing is you hit the nail right on the head. What you had was you were waiting for receivers to get open. Rodgers just standing there, and he got eaten alive. And even if he wasn't getting sacked, he was getting hit or he was getting pressured. And, that's obviously going to put a toll on the offense, and they're not going to do well. And especially, the Packers defense has definitely improved. And, but you make them go out after 3 and out, any team is going to get worn down. We got worn down this past Sunday, in the second half. Like, those guys were tired after chasing after Russell Wilson. And so I think when you're looking at the 49ers as a whole, I think it will be a better game than it was in week 12. That's what I can almost guarantee that. I mean, you never know, but I think it'll be a closer game, regardless of who wins. I think it's going to be a closer game. But I think the thing that strikes me about the Niners so much is that for me personally, this is a team that, there was a second overall pick last year.
Yeah.
Right. And now they're in the NFC Championship game. And you guys have, when you're comparing, teams and seeing connections between us, you guys, you built it through the draft. Right. And there were tough years in which you had high draft picks. You built up that line. You had retirements that obviously threw things into chaos. But you kind of you believed in the system. You got some bumps and bruises. But eventually you guys rebuilt yourself. And what you have right in front of you now is a young, well-coached football team that I think is built for long-term success. And I think when it comes to the 49ers, it's just crazy to me that much of a quick turnaround. Now, of course, last year there was injuries up the wazoo. Everybody and their mother was injured.
Yeah.
That plays a major role in it. But how, I guess, surprised are you that, one, you guys went on that undefeated streak for so long, and you're sitting in the NFC Championship game after last year, things going so wrong?
Surprised, very much so. As a Niner fan, going into the season, we knew the Niners had talent, across the board, but it was always about health. The first 2 years of Kyle Shanahan, I think they either led the league or tied the league with guys on injured reserve. From their wide receivers to their safeties to their corners, and then you lose Navarro Bowman gets cut the first year, Ruben Foster is basically suspended. You go through all that nonsense. Solomon Thomas maybe a bust at pick 3. And then, you go trade for Jimmy Garoppolo and you win 5 games. And then, the hype is super high going into the 2018 season. And then I go to the Kansas City Chiefs game when Jimmy gets hurt, and then the season just falls off the tracks. But what matters is having a competent quarterback. The Niners, the first year with Kyle Shanahan, led the league with 3 points or less losses. I think it was 8 or something. Mm-hmm. And they were always in games, and they just never had a way to get over the hump and pull it over. So, surprised. Yes, I thought the team would be like a 10-6, 9-7 team, just based on the schedule. I really thought the Packers, Ravens, and Saints game were going to be really, really tough when I first saw the schedule. And then that second half, you got the Rams, you got the Seahawks, and you can always, you can kind of base things off the season before. But I was never really sold on the Rams, but they are still the Rams. They have a really talented roster. The Seahawks are giving us fits for the last 8-9 years, and then of course the Packers got Aaron Rodgers. The Ravens, you saw what they did last year, and the Saints going into New Orleans. That's a really tough game. So you could see where you can kind of see the team could be 8-8, 9-7, maybe a 10-6. They get the ball bounced right their way. But when the minute I knew this team was for real was when they went into LA, the Coliseum, and completely dominated and throttled the Rams. And I was like, okay, this team is legit. They are coming for something. And then as far as the whole 8-0 run. I mean, I'll be the first to admit it. The schedule was kind of easy. You played the Bengals, you played Tampa, you played Washington in that stupid rain game, and then there was a couple. There's a couple not so hard games in there, and they just did what they had to do. They dominated all those teams. They did what they had to do, and then injury struck, and I was like, okay, here we go. Now we're gonna have some problems. But then they kept winning. They lost by 3 points to Seattle in overtime. They lose by 3 points against the Ravens, and then they lost the game to Atlanta, which is just a weird game in general because you're missing 7 defensive starters. Mm-hmm. So those things kind of, made it really weird. But yes, surprised, but very happy that they are where they are. So I thought Kyle Shanahan was a great coach. I thought John Lynch was a good GM. I thought this was going to be a 3 to 4 year rebuild, and this is the third year of this rebuild, and they are in my opinion, ahead of schedule.
Yeah. Well, I think what's crazy too is like you see this happen every now and then, right? Like with certain teams, like you saw it with the Rams last year, right? Like the Rams just like went like that was a year where like that was just their year. NFC Championship game, you know, questionable. Super Bowl definitely not. But like that was the year where like they were doing really damn well. You saw it with the Cowboys years ago, right? Like when they first got Dak and they first got Zeke and they were tearing through the league and setting records and it was all about them. And I think what's so crazy is like you could have a team that is so good for like one season and you're like, oh my God, you know, they didn't make it to the Super Bowl or they lost the Super Bowl, they lost the NFC Championship, whatever. And then like the next year, they either won, they don't even make the playoffs, Rams, right? Or, you know, it's just they get, you know, they do not get as far or whatever, they have like more loss. It just, I think highlights like when you have these opportunities, you know, there's 28 other teams right now that are sitting at home. And it's like when you have these opportunities, it is so difficult to get to the Super Bowl, let alone win a Super Bowl. And, you know, it's just like, hey, you know, talk about windows, you talk about whatever. I think like it's one of those things that when you're in this opportunity, you don't take it for granted and you just hope that this is the year that it pans out because, you know, there's going to be 31 other teams that are going to be really, really pissed off, you know, come February 3rd.
Yeah. And it's, you know, with this Lions team, it's, I'm not like a religious person or like super into like superstitions and things, but there's something about this Lions team. You know, they've experienced a lot of death. You know, Marquise Goodwin, he lost his child or his unborn child, then twice. Then you have Dwight Clark, he passes away. Then you have Tony York, Jed York's brother passed away, and now most recently C.J. Beathard's brother was murdered. The team is really unified, and there's like this sense of like this is a destiny type season, and that's part of what makes me so uncomfortable about going to this game. Like all this has happened. And for them to come up short would be such a huge disappointment as a Niners fan. But there's just something there about this team that says, you know, if they feel like they won't be denied. You know, you saw that in these games. You know, the Rams game, 2 3rd and 16 plays.
Yep.
When does that ever happen?
Yep.
It doesn't. You know, you got the 4th and 2 against the Saints. George Kittle carried the entire Saints defense on his back. Niners pull that one out. You know, there's just the Niners don't flinch. You know, we hear a lot about Jimmy Garoppolo. He makes bonehead throws, but the guy doesn't flinch. You know, he may make a mistake, but he's going to come right back and go down the field and score. Like that's usually what he does, and he does so at like a crazy level. So there's something about this team that kind of makes you wonder, like, okay, is it a destiny-filled season? And part of me, I'm trying to fight that, you know, that notion, but it's just hard to do so when you see stuff like that. You know, the Niners, they won the game when Jed York's brother, you know, committed suicide, but they won. I forget what game it was, but they won that following week, and then they win again this year against the Saints on the anniversary of it. You know what I mean? Like, just the way they won that game. There's just something there about this team that says they're going to the Super Bowl, and they may end up winning it all. But, you know, I could be wrong, and that's just me being a fan and just kind of trying to put things together. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, well, you see that too, though. I mean, like, I'll be very honest. Like the 2010 season, like for the Packers, like as soon as we went on that run and we went all 3 away games, and as soon as we beat the Falcons, I was like, oh, we're going to the Super Bowl. Like it's one of those weird, like you feel like eerily calm, kind of like like this is just what's gonna happen. Like, and again, it might blow up in our faces because I thought that, you know, the 2016 run, you know, when we were running the table and we literally won every single game from Philadelphia all the way over until we got to the NFC Championship game and then got blown out by the Falcons. So I think it's one of those things that, I mean, and I think the other team that's in the playoffs this year that feels a very similar way is the Titans. Because, I mean, like, they just got in. They just snuck in. They've played some of the best teams in football. They knocked out, arguably, in my opinion, who was the best team in football, which was the Ravens. And, you know, now they're in the AFC Championship, and they're, you know, not favored again. But it's so crazy, you know, that momentum, I think, is a really real thing. And I think that, you know, the only team that didn't show rust last week after a bye was you guys. Because, like, I watched that game, And, like Kirk Cousins, like they got that, the Vikings got that one touchdown, which like I looked at it, I was like, that's a fluke. I'm like, there's a blown coverage. It's not going to happen again. And then you're just like, no, it's not going to happen again. And just dominated them the rest of the game. They scored 3 more freaking points. And I think it's just a matter of, you guys have the preparation. You definitely have the players. You definitely have the coaching staff. And it's just a matter of, can you win, that one more game to get to the big one? And, in such a week-to-week league, you never know. You just absolutely never know. And so, I mean, the last couple questions I have for you, just 2 more things. One, how mad are you going to be when D Ford jumps off sides and costs the team the game again? I just wanted to ask. I'm sorry. That was a bad question. I apologize. That was a leading question.
I would be very, very frustrated because I've seen him be offsides and it's not called in this season. So I'm like, D, back up. I'm like staring at my television, back up. It doesn't get called, so it's fine. But I'm like, D, back up. But yeah, I would be very, very irritated if that's something that happens and, Aaron Rodgers gets a free play. You know how you like to get those free plays and then it's like, oh, it's 6. It's like, all right. You're playing from behind and you tie the game and just, something stupid comes on it. But yeah, I would be very, very irritated with that.
PTSD. He was in the AFC Championship game, did it last year, cost his team the game. I'm just saying, listen, Javier, it's tradition. You can't go against tradition. There has to be a debilitating offsides call in each of the games. I think it's just what needs to happen. And then real quick, just looking at the game, if you were to give me like one thing, like to complete this sentence, like the 49ers are going to win what do they need to do in order to win this game?
The 49ers win if
they score more points.
Attack Blake Martinez. Yeah, no, I think the player to watch for the Packers is Blake Martinez in coverage, and that's the scary part as a Packers fan. I would assume because he hasn't been great against tight ends or slot receivers and even running backs, and the Niners have ways to exploit that, and that's what you saw in the first matchup. You've kind of seen it all season with Blake Martinez. He's kind of a liability in coverage, and if the Niners can single him up with a Deebo Samuel or an Emmanuel Sanders or George Kittle, and let's be honest, there's really no one that can cover George Kittle. It's just kind of how it is. Unless you're triple team like the Vikings did, they bragged him so much in that game. But the Niners didn't really need to use him because they ran the ball so well. But the Niners win if they can exploit that matchup. That Blake Martinez in the middle of the field, know where he is, and know what the read is on your plays, and that's that goes to Jimmy. And the Niners just can't start slow. The Niners start slow, they get behind. That's a tough thing to come back from with a guy like Aaron Rodgers who can, kind of dictate the pace, when he starts slowing the things down at the line of scrimmage and just kind of eating the clock and just taking it away. So now they just have to start fast, and I think that's the biggest matchup there to me personally, is finding Blake Martinez and exploiting that matchup. Yeah,
it's funny because I've now seen numerous analysts this week pinpoint exactly what you just said. Of like it might come down to Blake Martinez because the guy, listen, he's a tackling machine. He really is. Like he's constantly around the ball, but every Packers fans know that like he's not good in coverage. I mean, that's one of those things of like, do we re-sign him next year? And that's like the biggest pitfall against him of like the guy can't cover people. That's like the biggest problem that he has. And obviously on a team like the 49ers where there are so many weapons, yeah. And obviously, the Packers know this, the 49ers know this and everything like that. And so I'm very curious to see how the Packers utilize Blake Martinez and what they do to kind of strengthen the middle of the field because, inside linebacker is one of our biggest holes on the defense and on the team. And it's going to be interesting to see how they're even going to try and address stopping that because you guys showed that you had a hell of a run game last week and an inconsistent run game, I would say, like throughout the season, like it's been hot and cold, but like you definitely like it, especially later in the season, you kind of like picked it up a little bit and it's been hot. And I think like that just would just make you guys such a threat and why you guys are like, 7.5 point favorites to open it up. But yeah.
And, with, on the other side of that, then, with Blake Martinez, it's just, that's something in the Niners. That's an advantage for the Niners is the linebacking core. Quan Alexander, Drake Greenlaw, and Fred Warner. All three of them can cover, and all three of them are really good in run defense. So it's just one of those things where Matt LaFleur has to make an adjustment too. So growing up as a kid playing football, my dad, he grew up as a Bears fan. And sorry for the Packer friends out there, but my dad's a Bears fan. I know.
You made a wise choice, at least. I'm glad you got away from that. Yeah. I'm proud of you.
But, he always said you need to be, in football, you should be strong up the middle. And that's one thing the Niners are very strong up the middle.
Mm-hmm.
Before Stephon, Eric Armstead, Fred Warner, Quan Alexander, Dre Greenlaw, and then you have the two safeties behind it. And that's kind of something where the Niners can exploit the Packers. If you look at a lot of their big plays, it's up the middle.
Yes.
And that's either at Blake Martinez or at the safety position, getting these corners turned all the way around like they did against the Niners the first time. And even a couple of times against the Vikings and the Lions game, there's this Yankee concept that offenses throw out to the Packers defense that get them really flabbergasted and confused. So it's this matchup to me comes down to Kyle Shanahan and Mike Pettin, and that's the one. And Kyle Shanahan has averaged 33.5 points against Mike Pett's defense, and that's just a concern for, as Packers fans, I'm pretty sure they're concerned about that matchup.
Absolutely, yeah. No, I think, like I said, I think it's going to be a little bit of a chess match, and it might be one of those games that just comes down to who has the ball last. It might just be like one of those one turnovers. I can see this being a super duper close game, but then again, I said that about the first game, and that went so wrong. So don't listen to me. But Javier, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on. I really appreciate you coming on Packcast. I would wish you luck this Sunday, but it's for the Super Bowl. But tell all the people where they can find you and where they can find Fourth and Gold podcast.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Javier _, and then the podcast on Twitter at Fourth and Gold Podcast. The podcast is on every podcast platform: Google, Stitcher, Apple iTunes, wherever podcasts are found. You can check us out. I have my rants. I have a sailor's mouth because I was in the Navy, so I do drop some F-bombs and things like that there. So if it's not for you, then it's not for you. But that's kind of how we get down on the podcast.
I love it. I absolutely love it. Go over and check out the guys on Fourth and Gold podcast. They're pretty damn awesome, and they get some really great guests too. So give them a listen. You can always find me at TomGrossiComedy.com or at TomGrossiComedy on all social media. See down below. Check out Packcast on SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Play Music, Spotify, and of course the YouTube. And a big shout and thank you to all the Patreon members over at Patreon.com/TomGrossiComedy. But thank you so much for watching, folks. Of course, we'll have content coming out Friday and most likely Saturday, and of course, we'll be streaming on Sunday. But thank you so much for watching. I'm Tom Grossi. And as always, go Pack, go.